We're on Daf Mem Hey Amid Aleph. Hanachrim, we're learning as a schus for Hushlema Filan Chaya Baserach. Hanachrim ha'evnim es haharim es hagvois. If a guy dintzach, he worships a mountain or a peak, hein mutarin, the mountain is mutter. Umashe lein asurin, but that which is on the mountain, it was worshipped together with the mountain is asur. That's the Tanakama Shita. Now, we just have to be careful to understand what we're talking about over here. This Avoda Zara, this Ovid Kechavim, is certainly going to be Chayiv Misa. What are the Sheva Mitzvah? He's not allowed to be Ovid Avoda Zara. He worshipped the mountain. He's certainly going to be Ovid. He's going to be Chayiv for being Ovid Avoda Zara. What we're talking about over here is the status of the mountain. We know that something that was worshipped, there are distinctions about how it's treated, right? That, like we said, a yid is asur b'hana. So we're saying the mountain itself does not become asur b'hana. It'll be very problematic if you think about that. One day, the guy could go to the Harabayas, like as possibly the Muslims do. I'm not sure, whether they're Avodah Zara, but if it was such a thing, you'd have a problem that now the whole mountain would become asur for yidden to go on. But the Mishnah says that's not the case. Harim don't become an object of avodah zara, but that which is on them, the talush, the things that are separate from the mountain, are asur. Shenema le'sachved kesav ezav aleim. This is the first pasuk. The whole pasuk is psile elokehem tisrufum beish. Their gods you have to burn. You shouldn't desire the gold and the silver that are on there and take it for yourself. Because maybe you'll be drawn after it, and it's a tayeva. So the Torah is telling you that you shouldn't desire that which is the kesav ezov that's on them. You shouldn't desire, that's us. That's the Tanakama. B'yesha Glili Aimer, Eloheihem al haharim v'loyaharim Eloheihem. He's coming from a second pasuk. The pasuk says, "Avid ta'avdon es kol hamakayim asher avdu sham hagoyim." This is the chiyuv that we have to destroy the makayim that they worshipped. Asher atam yarsham oisam. When the Yidden came into Eretz Yisrael, they had to go destroy their avodah zaros. So Asher es Eloheihem al harim, their gods that are on the mountains, haramim on the high mountains, v'alagvois and on the peaks, the tachatz kol eitz ra'anon, and underneath every green tree. So the Torah is telling you have to destroy their gods that are on the mountains and that are on the peaks and that are underneath the trees. So we darshan Eloheihem, it's back to the Mishnah. Eloheihem alaharim v'loyaharim Eloheihem. It's saying they're gods that are on the mountains, but the mountains themselves are not don't become a davar haneva. It doesn't become an idol. That's asur. Eloheihem alagvois Eloheihem. Same thing with the gvois. The Gemara neima she'rasura. So Rashi explains this is because we're asking from the last part of the Mishnah. We all know the pasuk says that an asherah. Ashreim tishrafum baish. The Torah says you have to burn atzei asherah, a tree that was worshipped. But we have over here in the pasuk it says, after we say what you have to destroy, we say include in that whatever's underneath the tree. So the same way we made a diak, the Torah, the Mishnah just darshan that says the Eloheihem al harim, but not the harim themselves. Why don't we say tachas kol eitz ra'anon, but not the eitz itself? So ne'ma asher asur sheyesh b'tfisis yedei adam. So the answer Rabbi Yosef Agili gives is because it was created by a man. B'chol means we're talking about a tree, and atzei asher is a tree that was planted by a person. So that which has the tfisis yedei adam, b'chol sheyesh ba tfisis yedei adam aser. That's excluded from tachas kol eitz ranan because it's not like the harem. It's not something that was there on its own, but it was planted by a person. So we're going to have to see later on what is the difference between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi Aglili. The Chayre, they're saying the same thing. They're saying that a mountain doesn't become nevad. Everyone agrees an Asherah is nevad, and what's on the tree, the Tanakama said, is nevad. Rabbi Yossi Aglili didn't seem to disagree with that. So there's going to be two shitas, two explanations of what the machlokes is. Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, "Ani oivim va'eidin lefanecha." I'm going to explain this pasuk to you. That means we had a problem from this pasuk. It says, "Avda avda is called mekayim she'avdu shamagayim asher v'yoshem es alehem alaharim," and it says tachas kol yitzuranan. He says, "I'm going to have a different explanation of that pasuk. I'm not going to answer it the way Rabbi Yossi Aglili said. I'm going to make it be maven. I'm going to explain to you and teach you. He really reads the pasuk kafi the kipshutai, that the pasuk is not coming to tell you that just what's underneath it, just what's on it is possible, but the har itself is not possible. He says the pasuk is telling you you have to go destroy all these avodah zaros, that this is where you're going to find them. You're going to find them on the mountains and on the peaks, and you're going to find them underneath the tree. But it's not coming to darshan. So therefore, Rabbi Yossi Aglili's question of why don't we have tachas kol eitz ranon to tell you that Asherah is going to be mutter like a har, he said it's not a problem. That's not what the pasuk is telling you. The pasuk is just telling you the general. It's giving you advice about where to look to find the avodah zarah. What's the difference between Rabbi Yossi Aglili and the Tanakama? The Tanakama had said that the harim don't become an object of avodah zarah, but that which is on it is. Rabbi Yossi Aglili said, he just said what the pasuk is, right? He said you learn it from Eloheim alaharim, but not the harim themselves. And why is Asherah different? But nothing different than the Tanakama. The difference is what's on top of the har, right? The Tanakama had clearly said Mashalei and Asurin. Rabbi Yossi Aglili didn't say anything that which covers the mountain. If someone worships a mountain that's covered with, let's say, silver and gold, so the silver and gold does become neva. That's talush. It's not part of the mountain. That's what the Tanakama said. Rabbi Yossi Aglili had not mentioned anything about that part. He just said about the part that the mountain itself can't become nevad. He didn't mention that which is covering the mountain. So Tanakama says the tzipui, the covering of the har, does not get the same treatment as the har, that it's excluded from worship, and therefore the tzipui har becomes aser umitzer. Yossi Aglili says we just bring from the pasuk that the har is mutter, and that includes what's on the har. It's all included. It's all looked at as one thing. Since the har itself doesn't become nevad, what's on it also doesn't come nevad. And you follow like the sensible, right? If you were saying that the main thing he's being ovid the har, he's not just being ovid what's being mitzaped, what's covering it. So that would exclude. So everything it's all part of the exclusion of the har. What's on the har is also going to be mutter. That's Rami Bar Chama's explanation. Rav Sheshes disagrees. Everyone agrees that tzipi har is not like the har. What the Tanakama said is very sensible, that the Torah just exclude the har, but something that's talish is not part of the har. And if like I said, it's also practical. We can't have harim, we can't have goyim going around answering geographical features that they're no longer accessible to Jews. We have a problem that the Har HaBayis is not accessible to us, and they throw rocks from there. We don't want to have that. They can it basically evict us from any har by bowing down to it. But what's on top of it, the silver and gold, that certainly they could be never. So everyone agrees that hareyu kahar. But the machlokes is about a different thing. With machlokes is when we talk about atzei asherah. Atzei asherah is a tree that was planted for avodah zarah. That's standard. Now we're going to question this tree, and Rabbi Kiva had explained that a tree is excluded from the pasuk that says tachas kol eitz ra'anon. Rabbi Kiva had explained in the Mishnah that it's not a problem because that underneath the tree is where you find avodah zarah. But what we wanted to say, before that, Rabbi basically wanted to say sheyesh b'tfisas yad. What was the chiluk between Asherah and Ahar? Because Asherah has an involvement of a person. Yesh b'tfisas yidei adam, that it was planted by a person. So since a person is involved in it, it's not similar to Ahar. It's not being excluded from the pasuk. And we're going to go through. The Gemara is going to go through in excruciating detail, like the sequence of the limudim. But that was generally Rabbi Yisrael's svara, is that something that a person makes is not included in that exclusion when we say that only that which is planted, but a tree was why. Well, how come a tree that's attached to the ground can be worshipped? Why isn't it like the har? He said because it was planted by a person. So the question becomes: what happens if a person first planted the tree not l'shem asherah, and then later on he was oived it? So that's what they're arguing about. And as we're going to see later on, the Gemara is going to say that certainly that which the part of the tree that was there when a person was oived it, that's not going to retroactively become an asherah. In the case where it was planted without any avodah zarah intentions, the tree that grows doesn't become an asherah. But if a person is oived, what grows after that will be an asherah. But the question is, does even what grows after that, does that become an asherah when it was planted properly? Or do we say, since it doesn't have, do we say that has the status of what the Mishnah called yesh b'tfisas yidei adam, something that was planted not l'shem asherah? It doesn't have I'm saying that's considered that it already has. It was planted not with the tfisas yidei adam to be an asherah, so therefore it's totally precluded from ever becoming an asherah, just like a har. Or do we say no, that if you later on oived it, can that part that grows after that, can that also become an asherah at that point? He holds if it was not to l'shem, that just it was planted by a person, and it was no machshavas of avodah zarah. It doesn't make a difference if he later on worships it, since it was planted without the cheshbon of avodah zarah. It's not going to be included in. It's going to be like a har, and it's going to be excluded from becoming an avodah zarah. He said, he holds the fakert, a tree that was planted and it became avdu, so at that point it becomes an asherah. Let's see the Rashi that explains a little bit the svaras. Ulbsoif avdu. The Shamil Tanakama the Avahar Mugvar Sharu. The Tanakama holds that the Torah said that the mountains are mutter, because the Torah says Alehem Asher Aleim, the gods that are on the mountains, but not the mountains themselves, who adin kol ki yotzeben shem mechubarin, anything that's attached. So a tree that was planted shaloi l'shem avodah zarah is just like it. V'loi hoisat chilasei l'avodas kechavim. Basically, asherah asura shenotu metchilel chachta. Only asherah that's asur was planted for that at the beginning. The tfisas yidei adam ein klum elam kein hi l'shem avodas kechavim. That svara that we said that because it's created by a man, it doesn't become haram. That's only if it was created b'dafka l'shem avodas kechavim. Avol not to geroyin, but if he planted seeds shaloi l'shem asherah, not having my asherah, ein zu tfisas yidei adam. It's not considered that it was created by a man that is excluded from the din of harm. So the svara of Tfisas Yedei Adam is not as secular as one might think. It doesn't mean just because it's just a distinction between it and harim, that harim are something that are an enduring thing that was there from my separations, and a tree is something that was created by people. It's also that it was created by people the shem avodas kecham. So Dr. Rashi Vaidu and Mati le bitachas kol eitz ran avolei eitz atzma. Also Rabbi Yossi Aglili meme. Where does Rabbi Yossi Aglili disagree? Ilan shenot groin afilu shalol yishem esel b'zayv avdu also dolei domi lahashar yesh b'tfisas yadam b'netia. Since it was planted by a person, that makes it, that itself, even without the intention to make it for Avodah Zarah, that's enough to distinguish it from a har. Therefore, its creation asks it. So this is the part that I wanted to point out. Like we can explain later on, and the truth is it's really going to be evident later on this blot, that what was planted, even Rabbi Yossi Aglili, who says that what's planted is aser, that if it's planted l'shem avodah zarah and then later on is nevad, it's going to be aser. I'm sorry, even the other way around. Yeah, Rabbi Yossi Aglili says that which planted becomes aser. That's only what grows after he was oived. What was there from before does not. So I forgot what we're up to. Where do we see this in the Mishnah? That the Rabbi Yossi Aglili disagrees with the Tanakama that he holds it's aser. The Elon should not say avdu. Midaktani seifim neima asher asur neshiyesh but tfisas yidei adam. Why the Mishnah continues and says, why is an asher asur? Because it has a tfisas yidei adam. V'chol sheyesh but tfisas yidei adam asur. And then it continues. The Mishnah says, it reiterates, and anything that has a tfisas yidei adam is asur. V'chol sheyesh but tfisas yidei adam asu yemai. What is it coming to tell you? We already said why is a asher asura. We're talking about a tree. So what is Rabbi Yossi Aglili adding? It's coming to include, I'm sorry, this case that even if it was planted shalei l'shem avodah zarah, when it becomes nevad later on, what grows after that comes masa. So Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda Savar, Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda agrees with this analysis of Rabbi Yossi Aglili. The two Rabbi Yossis agree. Savar ilan shenatu b'seif avdu also. He also agrees. The time Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda mitach shenemar elohayim al har. The pasuk says, like, and this is like what Rabbi Yossi Aglili had said, the trees, the gods that are on the mountains, but the harim themselves, though they are not gods. Same thing with the peaks. I would learn. The pasuk says, I'm sorry, Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda says, I'd say the same thing by the end of the pasuk, that it says Tachas Kol Eitz Ranan, that the whatever is underneath the Eitz Ranan becomes a god, but not the tree itself. Talmud loy mashareim tishufum ba'esh. That's why the pasuk says that you must burn whatever is a god for them. So
how do you see that he agrees?
I'm sorry?
How do you see?
Well, we're going to see. We're going to get to that.
All right.
Ella, we're going to still, it's going to need a little bit of analysis to get to where we see. So so if it's not excluding, if we're saying that with that which is under the tree is aser, what do you need tachas kol eitz ranan? What does it tell you? Ahuluk Rabbi Kiva hudiyasa. The Amar Rabbi Kiva ani oiv v'adnul v'rakam b'shatam b'yitzi har gavaya v'given asav eitz ranan dashi yesham avetz kechavim. Like we said in the Mishnah, Rabbi Kiva says it's coming to tell you just where the avetz kechavim is. So Rashi explains what's the raya of Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. It's from the fact that what was his question? What do we do with tachas kol eitz ranan? According to the Tanakama, we have to tell you Tachas Kol Eitz Ranon to tell you that while it's true that that which is under the tree is not always going to be mutter, but it's gosser, but sometimes it's aser. That means Asherayim Tisrufum Be'esh would be telling you that which is underneath the tree. I'm sorry, the tree itself. It's coming to tell you. He's saying, what's the stira according to Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda between the pasuk of Asher Shrayim Tishrufim Beis that you must destroy the Asherah, and it says V'lo Yitzran and Elohim, but it's mashma that the tree itself is not an avodah zara, right? Just what's underneath the tree is avodah, but that the tree is not itself. If you hold like the Tanakama who's choylek on Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, you have an easy answer. Say Tachas Kol Yitzran, and it's talking about that which was planted. Not l'shem avodah zara, and later on he was Ovid. So not to.
But according to Tanakama, it's mutter.
Right. So according to Tanakama, we don't have a stira between Tachas Kol. We have an answer to the stira between Tachas Kol Eitz Rana.
Oh, in other words, that would be. You can use it to say that's what's.
Yeah, it's coming to tell you the heter Tachas Kol Eitz Rana is coming to tell you heter of not the Lubsaif Abd. So this is what Rashi says. Let's see Rashi. From the fact that he says that you can dash and lay Yitzran, we have to say like Rabbi Kiva, that's not really coming to tell you, it's coming to tell you a totally different, just a historical point. Let's say Tachal and is being mad to that. She should have said it in this way. Okay. According to Rabbanon, we just said how they would answer this stira. They would say Vashrayim Tishrufum Ba'esh is not coming to tell you that we don't have Eitz Ranon to be cited. Eitz Ranon is coming to tell you about Ilan Shanatul B'Saif Avdu. So what is Vashrayim Tishrufum Ba'esh? It's a regular. Other than that, it's a regular Asherah, which is also my Avdilay. So tomorrow, you need it. You have to do it in order. First, we have one pasuk Hashem Tishum Eish to tell you that a tree that was created shenatu l'shem avodah zara, that is going to be an asher. So according to Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, that says that both of these are awesome. So we're saying that the pasuk of Tachas Kol Eitz Ranon is coming to tell you it's not any different. Rabbi Tachas Kol Eitz Ranon is like Rabbi Akiva, and Ashrei and Tishrufum Ve'esh. What do you need that for? We're not Tachas Kol Eitz Ranon is not discussing at all about which trees are never. It's telling you where to find them. So why don't we need Ashrayim Tisrufum Ba'esh to tell you the original din, that's something that was nevad from the beginning that it's asa? So Gemara Hachanami. Hachanami, you're right. We do need Ashrayim Tisrufum Ba'esh for that. So if that's the case, where do we know? He said Ashrayim Tishrufum Ba'esh is coming to tell you Elon Shanatul B'Seif Avdu. So now we want to say Elon that from Ashrayim Tishrufum Ba'esh. Tell you don't say Tachas Kol Eitz Ranon, but we just proved that you need the Ashrayim for that. So then how does he have what? Where does he learn that Elon Shanatul B'Seif Avdu? If that's not an extra pasuk, Elon Shanatul B'Seif Avdu Minalei. Where is he going to learn it out? Nafkele Me'Ashrayim Tigadeyim. He learns it out from a different pasuk. There's a third pasuk. Zakrash, the pasuk. Kim koi tasu lahem miziv chosehem. This is what you'll do from their mizbeichas, their altars. so you should destroy them, or you should break their monuments, and you should cut down their asheros. What is the eitz that gets cut down? That which it grew, you have to cut off parts of it because it's also. But the ikar is mutter. This is a reference to ilun shenatul b'seif avdu. This is what I was talking about. This is why I was pointing out that Rashi before that said that everyone agrees, even Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi Galili, who say that ilun shenatul b'seif avdu is aser. That's only a reference to that which grew after the tree was avdu. But the part that was there from before, so when it says is mutter, so when it says Ashreim Tegadein, that's a reference to this. Avdu. In fact, the Gemara Ashreim is from Eish Kanasibla, Talmuda. But we have a little bit of a problem that Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, we're talking about Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi, it was Rabbi Akiva who brought this pasuk. But Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda brought the pasuk V'Ashreim Tishra from Be'esh as his source that Natul B'Seif Avdu is also. Zakmara Ilo Nama Kamar. Ilo Nama Tishra from Be'esh. No, he's just saying that's the support. That's the first thing you have to say. First, it has to say Tishra from Be'esh to tell you a ilon that was planted l'shem avodas kechavim. How you say Aimer V'Ashreim Tigadeyim Be'ilon Shenatum Etchil Lekach. If we didn't have Ashreim Tishra from Be'esh to tell you the first step, that something that was fully nevad is aser, then I wouldn't have darshan this complicated, diuk of Ashreim Tigadei, and that it's partially mutter and partially yes. I would have said just means that you have to cut them down. I wouldn't have darshaned it. It's a little bit unsatisfying that we say we learn it out from the deduction of what is Tegadein, the strange lesson of Tegadein, of cut it down. So we say it means partial. And now we're saying, but if we wouldn't have Ashreim Tisra from Be'esh, I would have ignored that analysis. What do the Rabbanan do with this pasuk, Ashreim Tegadein, that Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda and ostensibly Rabbi Yossi bar Glili also would learn to tell you that Avdul B'Seif, Natul B'Seif Avdu is aser. What are they doing with it? Look at Rabbi Shimon and Levi. They're learning like Rabbi Shimon and Levi. Rabbi Shimon and Levi. The proper, it's telling you how the Yidden, when they came into Eretz Yisrael, what they were required to do with the Avodah Zara. The first thing they have to do is they have to cut down the Asheris. They have to cut down break the Avodas Kechavim. But they're not yet at that point required to fully destroy the Avodah Zara. They got other work to do. First they have to conquer the neighboring tribes, the Plishtim. But once they will Kivish Eretz Yisrael, then they have to be Mavar the Avodas Kechavim. The Tanya Rabbi Yosef, you should destroy their altars, V'hanach and leave them over. And you should break their monuments and v'hanach and leave them. V'hanach that doesn't mean you should just leave them, that you could keep them for yourselves. Shreifa boy, they have to be destroyed. Rav Huna, what's the gimel? Sorry. V'roidif v'ach kach saraf. That no, it means that first you have to go chase after the inhabitants of the Zion Umas and conquer them. Ach saraf, and afterwards you should destroy them. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda high svarmino. Where's Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda that he doesn't have the extra pasuk? Where is he going to learn it out from? Right? He used the pasuk of Giduyim Ashreim Tegadeyun to tell you Avdul Natul B'Seif Avdu. Nafkele me Aved Tavedun, from the double lashon Aved Tavedun. First Aved, first break them, and then finally you make the full destruction of them. That's coming to tell you a different than that. When you have to destroy an Asherah, you shouldn't just destroy the tree, but you have to uproot it. You have to destroy the roots as well. You have to destroy even the roots. What does he learn out to destroy the roots? Torah says you have to destroy the name. That means a full destruction, not just the tree, but also its roots. Rabbanan, what do they do with this pasuk? V'atam Hashemam, ahu lichnas lo shem. That's a commandment. You should destroy their name. That means you should call them by other names. You should make up names for them. The Tanya Belaza, what do we learn? That you have to abure to Tamalev V'atam Hashemam. Amar Rabbi Kiva, Balek Farnamar, Avad to Avdun. It already said Avad to Avdun. It came Matam Alev V'atam Hashemam. He learned it out, Rabbi Kiva, which is the same thing that the Rabbanan had used it for. That's coming to tell you that you should call it a name. The Gemara is going to explain what that means to call names to Avodah Zara. Yachal l'shvach. Maybe it means I shouldn't say the name of the Avodah Zara. I should say a nicer name for it. L'shvach sal kadaitach. Do you think? Well, the Gemara says, what do you mean? You thought the Torah is telling you that you should call Avodah Zara a praise? You should call it by a praiseworthy name. Call it the magnificent. Maybe it just means you have to call it by a different name. The same way we don't say Yashka's name. That's what it's telling you. You just make up a name, but it's not. It doesn't have to be a derogatory name. Tamalema shaketz tishaksenu v'toav tetavenu. You should make it meshukah. You should make it disgusting, and to make it into eva, to an abomination. Kicheiru, because it's also haketzad. Well, how does that work? Koiner say base galia. So it was called base galia. Koiner say base karya, which is like the place of digging, the place of a ditch. So you go, instead of call, you change the name to something that's lowly. Ayin kol, its eye is everywhere, to ain kites, it's ayin kites, that it's a thorn. So you change it to a derogatory name. That's what we learn from the pasuk Vad Tameshma. Okay, we'll stop over here. Mesham, tomorrow morning we'll resume, and hopefully we'll make progress in catching up a little.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day. It's good to see everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.